Oh, it is. It is Thursday episode, busy Thursday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We are live. Welcome everyone who's watching live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live. If you are watching live, though, take advantage of the live chat. In fact, I see my good friend Jason Mizrachi, Jay Miz, is in the chat. You could tell it's his first time in the chat because he's doing a test. It works, bro. It works. You're here. See Big Dan 305 in as well. Hello, Big Dan 305. We will be talking extensively about the Mike McDaniel introductory news conference. The new Dolphins head coach was officially unveiled today in Miami Gardens. I thought he did a good job. I saw some people thinking otherwise, which is weird, like the way that people will pick apart an introductory presser. We're going to be talking about McDaniel and what his plans are going to be, personnel-wise, coaching staff-wise. Yeah, thank you. I didn't see any red flags either, Sean. I didn't. I do want to talk about so Roger Goodell got everybody talking yesterday about, the possibility of Stephen Ross being forced out. I don't see it. I don't, and I'll clearly explain why I don't see it happening. We are going to talk everything Dolphins, including about Zach Thomas, who, fingers crossed, hopefully he gets voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame because he deserves to be there. I watched ZT's entire career as a Miami Dolphin, and honestly, when he was in his prime, even when he wasn't in his prime, I never got the sense watching that guy that, hey, this guy doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. Like, Zach Thomas should be in, man. We're also going to talk about the blockbuster James Harden, Ben Simmons trade and about all the trade deadline coverage we're going to have on this network. Because 5 Reasons Sports, you bet your ass they're going to be all over it throughout the day. Ethan Skolnick is going to join us a little bit later on. Hussam Patel is going to join us a little bit before that. And yeah, do what our guy Chris says, the Fins Tailgate. If you're in here and you enjoy the content, even if you don't, smash the like button. Please, guys, smash the like button, the little thumbs up button on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports. Both of those things help the channel grow. They help my show grow, but I want everybody's show to grow, right? Everybody who does content on 5 Reasons Sports, I want us to be able to grow the network. And if you subscribe to the channel, it's a big help. And every time you like one of our videos, that makes it more likely other people will see it and share it, and the network just grows exponentially. So, let's start here. Our guy, Big Dan 305, he said, I loved McDaniel's press conference today. It's like I saw some, and I was actually doing a live show on Miami Sports Music during the presser, and we had it like airing live, Steven Daniels and I. And people were having fun on the live chat. They were kind of making fun of him a little bit, picking everything apart. But it's like, I kind of wonder what some of you were expecting. Maybe you just don't know a whole lot about this guy, right? Because, those of us who, and I'm not just talking about media people, fans even, who have really been in the trenches studying this guy for the last few weeks, he's a little bit nerdy, awkward, very sarcastic. He did look a little nervous today, but let's be real here. Can you blame the guy for being a little nervous? I mean, you've just landed a dream job. You're now one of 32 NFL head coaches, and it's your first opportunity to be in that fraternity, the NFL head coaching fraternity, and you're being introduced not only to South Florida, but really to the NFL world as the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins. I'd be nervous too. I mean, I'm a public speaker for a living, and I would be nervous if I was in the spot that Mike McDaniel was in today. And, I thought he dropped some substance today. Maybe the part that was a little bit awkward was, and kudos to the media member who asked him this, and it was the very first question. So fastballs being thrown right out of the gate. It was Jim Barry, legendary South Florida anchor and reporter, asked him right out of the gates, given the Brian Flores allegations and the lawsuit, did he see any red flags about the Dolphins organization? Which, I mean, for a guy in his position, he just accepted the job as head coach here and accepted that job from the team owner, who is the guy being accused of a couple not so good things, who is the one signing his checks. That's an awkward question to be asked. And he basically, handled it, I think, about as well as you could. No, red flags. No, this is a professional organization. He repeatedly said how badly Stephen Ross wants to win And I don't think the wording of that was by accident, because you want to emphasize how much Mr. Ross wants to win, because the previous head coach accused Mr. Ross of incentivizing him to lose, not win. So, that was a tough question for a guy in McDaniel's position to answer. But let's go over some of the things that Mike McDaniel, new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, revealed today. He says, and this surprised me a little bit, McDaniel revealed today that he will be calling the offensive plays for the Dolphins. Now, the reaction of some people is, oh no, he wasn't even the play caller in San Francisco. He was the offensive coordinator in San Francisco, wasn't the official play caller there. He did collaborate and call some plays with Mike Shanahan, but he wasn't the official play caller there. Now he's going to be calling plays in Miami. I didn't have that exact reaction. I am concerned about one thing, but it's not that. I think McDaniel is probably capable of calling plays. I think if you're so capable in designing them as he is, and you are capable of at least collaborating with Kyle Shanahan in calling plays, and you've worked hand in hand with Kyle Shanahan as he's calling plays, like, I don't doubt that Mike McDaniel is capable of calling plays. That's not my reservation. My only reservation about McDaniel revealing that he's going to be calling offensive plays is that's just a lot to put on your own plate as a first-time head coach. That's it. I'm not worried about his acumen and capability of being a good play caller. He's probably going to be dynamite at it. I'm just saying that you're becoming a head coach for the very first time. You're a younger guy. You don't have that direct head coaching experience, and you're putting an extra thing now that you have to micromanage, put it on your plate. It's a little bit concerning from that standpoint. Now, I'm honestly not that surprised that he said he's going to be calling plays here. And I kind of wonder if he's looking at this as maybe a one-year transitionary thing, because you have to remember the type of offense he's going to be installing here is extremely specific, and he knows that offense better, and he's got to teach that offense, right, to all of his players. He knows it better than I would imagine whoever the offensive coordinator is going to be, right? That Mike McDaniel is probably the guy best equipped in installing that offense, and he's going to be teaching the new offensive coordinator really the ins and outs of that offense. So maybe the plan is, and I don't think he specified any sort of a timetable, his plan might be, I need to call plays for the first season because it's just going to be the easiest and most efficient way to install this offense. And then I'm going to be training my offensive coordinator the ins and outs of that. And then hopefully the second year, I can hand off play calling duties to someone else. That seems logical to me, right? That, why would a first-time head coach want to put that much on his plate? I think it would make sense that McDaniel is probably thinking, for year one, when this is new to everybody, that it's probably just the best thing for me and for the entire team for me to call the plays the first year. And then maybe the second year, I can hand this off to someone else. So, I know that was one of the big headlines that came out of this today, that Mike McDaniel, he's going to be the offensive play caller in addition to being the head coach. Some of you concerned because he wasn't officially the play caller in San Francisco. That's not really my concern. Just my concern is, and there have been, a handful of very successful coaches on either side of the football who were play callers in addition to being head coaches. Still, though, I think it's a lot to put on anyone's plate, especially someone who's stepping into a head coaching role for the first time. So I'm going to be very interested to see how that goes for him. Now, I will say this, McDaniel calling plays, no matter how many responsibilities that dude has, that's 1,000 times better than the clown car of God C. Studisville and Charlie Fry calling plays. Give me this over that. It can't possibly be worse than that, man. Oh, okay. So another thing that I found to be interesting, before McDaniel even got on the podium today, Stephen Ross opened things up. He did not take questions, by the way. Certainly not surprised about that, because obviously if he had taken questions, it would have become a whole different thing, right? It would have become explain everything about the Flores lawsuit. So Stephen Ross opened it up, didn't take any questions. Chris Greer said some words. Chris Greer was a little bit awkward. Like I kind of thought like you could have just skipped that part and just brought McDaniel up to the because basically like Chris Greer got up on the mic for 5 minutes and just kind of repeated like 30 times how much he likes Mike McDaniel. And it's like, bro, just bring him out here, man. Get to the point. But one thing, and Devin Jordan, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, Donno, I like the McDaniel hire. He sounds like a cool coach to play for, but what happens when they lose games or they lose, is he saying games or GMs? Lose games or there's lots of penalties. I don't know what you mean, because like that could happen to any coach. I don't understand what happens when they lose. I mean, you could say that about any coach the Dolphins have ever brought in. Like this time of year when they get introduced, this is what we call a honeymoon, right? You don't really, unless you're just one of these miserable people who hates everything. And I talk to a few of these people every single day. But for most of us, we're excited. Like for most of us, we've got this new coach. You hear the word genius getting thrown around a lot with this guy. He's a genius, and he literally is a genius. He's a member of Mensa. Mensa does not return my calls, by the way. They pretend I don't exist. He's a member of Mensa. He's a Yale graduate. He speaks very intelligently, so I think that he's got a very hefty vocabulary. And so most of us, we're all really excited about this. And yeah, this is the honeymoon period, right? Unfortunately, as has been the case for every Dolphins coach for like the last 20 years who's been brought in, the best time for that coach is the day they get introduced, and then things tend to kind of go downhill from there, right? So if that's what you're talking about, then listen, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how these guys actually play. Shake Money, thank you so much for the money. $2 super chat. We love you. He says Gase said the thing at first press conference. Well, and honestly, the best day of the Adam Gase tenure was probably that introductory press conference, and he did it a lot better here than he did at the Jets. The Jets introductory press conference where he was looking for the taco, that was a nightmare, bro. That was an absolute nightmare. No, but something that Stephen Ross said that really interested me a lot. He very deliberately cleared this up and not solicited. Again, he didn't take questions. He just threw this out there, wanted to throw this out there. He said very clearly that Mike McDaniel reports to Chris Grier, who reports to Stephen Ross. And he also even threw in the team CEO, Tom Garfinkel, into the mix. I don't know if like he did that as if to say, hey, guess what? Garfinkel now is in charge of football related stuff. Like Garfinkel, the CEO, he's in charge of all the business stuff. Like it's never been my impression that he has like any input whatsoever on like the football side of things. So I don't know if Stephen Ross just threw that in there just to kind of make sure Garfinkel felt included. Like, hey, I want to make sure Garfinkel has good self-esteem today. Or if like that was his casual way of saying that now Tom Garfinkel has some football input. I don't really know what to do with that. But, outside of that part of it, it's important for Stephen Ross, apparently, to make the chain of command loud and clear, right? That our head coach works under the general manager, who works under me. Head coach reports to the GM, GM reports to me. Because yeah, we had a lot of questions under the previous couple regimes, by the way, because I'm not forgetting about Adam Gase. I don't want to make this all about Flo. I'm not forgetting Adam Gase as well. There were some questions over how much power the previous coaches had. And in the case of Brian Flores, how much extra power they wanted to have and how that may have contributed to that coach being let go. So I thought that was interesting because, like, in the case, I think Adam Gase had more even defined powers than Brian Flores did, because it was my understanding that not only did Gase have like official final say over the 53-man roster, he also reported to Stephen Ross. Like, he didn't have to go through Chris Grier as the middleman. He had a direct audience with Stephen Ross. In the case of Brian Flores did not technically report to Stephen Ross, but he did have a lot of input because, again, Chris Grier, kind of a doormat, nice guy, a little bit of a doormat. Like, I don't think Grier overruled him on a lot of players, draft picks, free agents, even though he technically could have overruled Flo if he wanted to. I think he basically, for the most part, let Flo kind of pick the guys that he wanted. But no, Stephen Ross, I think, deliberately went out of his way to kind of define the chain of command. Devin Jordan, he says, Donno, my bad. No need to apologize, sir. Wasn't trying to hate on McDaniel. Only time will tell. Just concerned how he will handle adversity. I hope he's not another Gase 2.0. Absolutely. I hope he's not. And listen, that's fair. And I think I was kind of able to work out in my head what you meant to say the first time, that this is always the happiest day. Like, this is always going to be the happiest day. Whenever you hire somebody, And I'm sure ownership and McDaniel, there's a certain amount of ego involved here. Nobody thinks this isn't going to work, right? And a lot of fans think, oh, we're going to really get it right this time. Mike McDaniel, I liked how he said, like, he really appreciates how much the Dolphins wanted him and made him feel wanted. They reached out to him for their head coaching vacancy, even though no other team did. Like, none of the other teams brought him in to interview. And I talked about this on the show yesterday, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on it. Some people think, hey, the Dolphins are the only team that brought him in. Is that a red flag that, like, nobody else thought this is a guy worth interviewing for a head coaching gig? Not necessarily. I really don't think it's a red flag because the coaching carousel in the NFL is so stale and so predictable, and it's lazy, right? Like, so many of these teams will only bring in candidates because other teams are bringing them in. So it's a copycat thing, and they're only bringing in candidates that have certain things on the resume, and they're not thinking outside the box. And sometimes, not every time, but sometimes the outside the box hires end up being the best and the most innovative. And in the case of Mike McDaniel, it's not like this guy isn't respected, right? I mean, he's got glowing references from basically anybody he's worked with and worked under, right? And, you know, his play design is renowned. Like, he's considered to be one of the most intelligent people in the game. So it's not like this guy isn't highly thought of. I don't know why out of 9 teams with vacancies, none of the others wanted to bring him in. I can't answer that, but that's, to me, that's not automatically a red flag against McDaniel. If anything, that's probably a red flag on some of these other teams that were just not very creative. Oh, and by the way, bro, I wish I was there today in person. I wasn't. Ethan Skolnick was, and he's going to join us later. But how about this? Daniel Ofusi from the Miami Herald tweeted this out. New coach is starting things off right with the media. So they offered Mike McDaniel's favorite desserts. And hold on, I got to pull this up again. My eyes are getting so old. Okay, yeah, thank you. See, Manny knows my eyes are shit. So he zoomed in. So they actually offered McDaniel's favorite desserts to the media: Oreo sundae with cookies and cream ice cream, Oreos, whipped cream, and fudge. That sounds delightful. I would have probably taken 2 of those. The other one, don't like it as much. Caramel swirl ice cream with caramel sauce, whipped cream, and sprinkles. I probably would have passed on the second one. The first one, though, giddy up. Coach and I have we have very similar tastes in Oreo desserts. The caramel ice cream thing, not as much. But I thought that was really cool. Like, he actually, McDaniel took the time to say, like, hey, I don't know if it was his idea, but somebody approached this with him, or he thought, hey, it'd be pretty cool if you guys can whip up my favorite desserts to offer the media. Bro, the South Florida media can be bought, and all it takes is food. Honestly, like, I've been there. I covered the Dolphins in person, going to practices for years. And I was there early on when the food was not very good. But then in recent years, like, they have their own chef there that actually makes food for the media. And the food that they serve to the media on practice days is quite excellent. And I've noticed the coverage has gotten a lot more positive the better the food has gotten. So McDaniel is learning quickly. If you want to win over the South Florida media, you don't win it with, like, bribes. Like, nobody from the South Florida media is going to say, give me $100,000 and I won't cover you negative. No, they're just, give me a fucking sandwich. Like, give me a French dip sandwich. Give me an Oreo sundae, and you're going to get nice coverage from now on. Like, that's really all that it takes here. I thought it was funny that McDaniel, talking about the facilities, that brand new facility there in Miami Gardens, I feel like I'm at an SEC school, he said. And you know what? He's not wrong, because SEC schools, and you could throw Clemson and Oregon into that outside of the SEC, they have nicer facilities than most NFL teams. Like, they really do. Like, the arms, like, in the NFL, the arms race is more about, how much money am I going to pay you? Free agent money, or, who's got the best chance of winning a ring, because a lot of players want to go, best place to win a Super Bowl. Obviously, college football as well, national titles and all that, but it's a much bigger emphasis in college football on the facilities. Like, that hope sandwich, like, how nice the facilities are matters a lot more. The Dolphins have a facility that's, more in line with what you get at some of the top SEC schools, which is nicer than other NFL facilities. So I think that's pretty cool. Something that was interesting, he tailors an offense to the strength of his players. I'm glad he emphasized that because I know Hussam, who's going to be joining us in a couple minutes, have been talking about this a lot. He brought up how, at Washington, when they had RG3, they didn't really have experience in zone reads, but they adapted to that. They were able to adapt to the strength of RG3, and I'm sure they're going to adapt this offense to the strength of the players who are already here, and then hopefully they go out and get some other players, especially on the offensive line. Please, let's improve running back, offensive line. But no, I think that that's a great place to start a conversation about McDaniel, because a lot of people are saying, okay, who's the Deebo Samuel going to be here? I don't think we have that type of player here, okay? Here's the key. You're asking right now, who is his Deebo Samuel going to be in Miami? No. Years from now, if he ends up at another job somewhere, or if, like Jalen Waddle, for whatever reason, is no longer a Dolphin years from now, you're going to be saying, who's his Jalen Waddle going to be? Because he's going to adapt something, I'm sure, completely different and unique to a player like that. Let's not think about who the Deebo Samuel is going to be. Let's think about what kind of a role he's going to develop for the players that are here. I thought, from a general sense, that he comes off, I think, McDaniel, as someone who clearly sees the importance of connecting and collaborating with people. And again, this guy's literally a genius. So he probably went out of his way to emphasize these things because he knows, I'm sure, the criticisms of his predecessor. Like, he's heard the criticisms internally and externally about Brian Flores, whether it's fair or unfair. That's not my place to judge. But the reputation that Flores had after being kicked out of Miami was, this guy doesn't play well with others. So that was the reputation. I think Mike McDaniel was very smart to emphasize collaboration, working together. So I thought that was good. Something else I liked, even though he didn't go into specifics on this, because obviously that's a hard thing to do before you've really had a full chance to assess the team and practice and all that. But he talked about wanting the Dolphins to establish a clear identity, like a signature for Miami Dolphins football. That's something we've all been hungry for. Now, listen, I think on defense, and usually an identity comes when you're playing well. So, like, on defense, they've had an identity. They certainly had one under Flo, cover zero, blitz heavy team, really just confounding opposing quarterbacks. So they had some of that on defense. But on offense, what's the identity of the Miami Dolphins? We don't have one, man. We haven't had one in a really, really long time. And I think this might be the right guy, at least on paper. This is the right guy to help us establish an identity. Now, I want to talk a little bit about who could end up on this coaching staff. And I know this is something our guy, Hussam Patel, can help us with. Dolphins ATB, 5 Reasons Sports Network, Fin Maniacs. Hussam, how are we doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. So somebody we've already heard of who's coming in, and I thought, and actually I read a couple of your tweets on the show yesterday because I thought you said it well. You wrote a story about this, I think, as well at 5reasonsports.com. John Embry, the tight ends coach, is coming over from San Francisco. So, of course, he and McDaniel know each other very well, having worked there. He's going to be tight ends coach and I think assistant head coach as well. I like that move a lot. And, of course, you mentioned some of the tight ends he's worked for in the past. Most recently, George Kittle helped in Kittle's development. So, okay, with Embry coming in, what does that mean for the Dolphins tight end group? And do you think a guy who's about to be a free agent, does this make Mike Gesicki more or less valuable? Because people will point out he doesn't really have the characteristics of a tight end who plays in this system because of his lack of blocking. So what do you think happens with Gesicki?
I think that a lot of people are overestimating or just basically not really understanding the scheme that McDaniel brings in, especially for the tight ends as it relates to Mike Gesicki. And Alfredo Arteaga was on the podcast yesterday with Dolphins ATB speaking about this. Look, George Kittle is a unicorn of a tight end. 90% of tight ends are not like George Kittle. And 90% of tight ends are not like Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is a pass-catching tight end, whereas George Kittle can do both. If you look at the tight ends around this league, they're good at one thing. either pass catching or run blocking.
Mm.
There's very, very little tight ends that can do both well. Now, there is some speculation that if the Dolphins do want to retain Gesicki, it's more so towards a wide receiver. I was reading an article this morning by Cal Krabs of Locked On Dolphins, who does the podcast for the Locked On Podcast Network and the Draft Network. Gesicki hasn't really lined up as an inline tight end a lot. He's more so a slot and outside receiver who's been there. It's around 30 to 50% in the slot. So McDaniel could utilize Mike Gesicki as a pass catching, maybe a big slot type of guy. Now, the other factor is money. How much is Gesicki going to command? And if you look at Dallas Goedert's contract, it's roughly around, I believe, 14 or 14 and a half million per year. And Goddard and Gesicki's statistics and the percentage of where they've lined up is very similar. Now, it's going to be up to Gesicki's agent and the Dolphins organization to come to a middle and say, hey, this
But by the way, hold on. Manny, pop yourself on the screen because when you brought up a Philly guy, oh, see, he's too much of a coward. He disappeared. I could see him down there in the way. You pissed off Mr. Philly, Manny. I don't think he can come on because he's at work.
Crazy. Dallas Goedert is such a much better tight end overall than Mike Gesicki. I understand that Gesicki probably doesn't get enough targets and doesn't get enough shown during a game. But Dallas Goedert has shown that he can do either better than Ertz and more than that. He can block as well in the running game. Gesicki has yet to prove to me, again, though, it could be because of the lack of offensive opportunities that the team didn't give him last season. But right now, Goddard's way ahead.
Manny's just crashing my appearance right here, Alex. He's just crashing it right now.
How dare he? And the thing is, I can't control him because he's in control of the show. He can pop himself in and out whenever he pleases. There's nothing I can do.
And every tight end is not equal. Not all tight ends are made the same. And this is the thing in this league. Like every tight end is different. Where within wide receivers and running backs, you can really peg them into a skill set and a type of running back they are. But with tight ends, it's very broad. I want to say of what kind of tight end they can be. Just the tight end position in the NFL is not something people know a lot about.
Right.
So there's going to be some discrepancies over money, how they can use Gesicki, and you also got to talk about Durham Smythe is also a free agent. He's a really, really good blocker too, and he really fits the blocking scheme of what McDaniel wants to run.
So, all right, let's talk about other potential assistant coaches. Let me just throw out a couple names and get your reaction either on the fit or how likely you think it is. I start to see the name Wes Welker thrown around a lot. I think he still has a house down here. Unfortunately, it's near the old facility, not the new facility, so he'll have a little bit of commute. But Wes Welker, I'm seeing being talked about potentially as a receivers coach and coach.
He could potentially be a passing game coordinator. So, but imagine having a former Dolphins player become a coach of the team.
Yeah, that would be something interesting. And I also see who's going to interview for the offensive coordinator job, Charles London,
Right.
who is the quarterbacks coach, and he's also a former running backs coach, but he's currently the quarterbacks coach at the Atlanta Falcons. And of course, we know if he or whoever comes will not be calling the offensive plays. But what do you think about the names Welker and Charles London? Sound good to you, or can we do better?
I think, this comes down to McDaniel and his connections he's made over the NFL. Thing is, with Charles London, I don't know so much about him as a potential offensive coordinator. I know he was a running backs coach with the Bears. He had really helped Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard come on too. That's another Eagles player, Manny. So you could go shake your head yes and no and bop it up too that I'm talking about the Eagles one more time. But, I was reading over London, and, he earned positive reviews with his work with Matt Ryan, Josh Rosen, and Felipe Franks in his only season with the Falcons so far. And usually, being a quarterbacks coach is often a stepping stone to becoming an offensive coordinator. And, maybe this Dolphins opportunity means he could go from becoming a quarterback coach to an offensive coordinator.
Hussam Patel is with us here, 5 Reasons Sports Network, Dolphins ATB, and FinManiacs.com. He's got every job. Like if you guys are looking for a job and you can't find one, it's because Hussam does all the jobs. That's why it's either the robots are taking your jobs or Hussam is taking your jobs. But I want to venture off McDaniel for a moment and give you my take and get your take on something, because I did. Sometimes before the show, I write out these like scheduled tweets where I try to predict what I'm going to be talking about at like an exact minute. I bat about 0 on that. Like I always, me trying to predict at like 3:10, I'm going to be talking about this story. So I know some people popped in at 3:10 to hear our take on this, and they were sorely disappointed. So I'll get to it now. It was big news yesterday afternoon. It got talked about a lot. Roger Goodell had his State of the NFL address. He talked a little bit about the tanking allegations against Stephen Ross and the Dolphins. And I'll cherry pick a couple of quotes here from the NFL commissioner. Integrity of the game is very important, he said. We'll deal with it very seriously. He said the allegations in the lawsuit are, quote unquote, very disturbing. And he was also pressed on something. And he did say he thinks that it is within the rights of the NFL owners to remove one of the owners. And that got a lot of people talking, right? That's led to just a palooza of speculation out there. And I know that there's this growing movement of people Dolphins fans who desperately want Stephen Ross out, right? That they're tired of the scandals we seem to see pop up every few years. They blame him, and the buck does stop with him. He's at the top of the food chain. They blame Mr. Ross for the Dolphins' plight, in recent years, and they want him out, and they think this may be the chance to get him out. I got news for you. For the other 31 owners, or at least the majority of those other 31 owners, if they were to take this for a vote, to actually vote someone out of the fraternity, I think it would have to get really bad, right? Like, I think they would need to have, like, written proof, right? Documented paper trail to offers of $100,000 per loss to really vote him out. Like, do you guys really think that the other owners want a precedent to be set that any of them can be forced to sell their property, that being the franchise that they own, that they can be forced to sell that property because of a PR scandal? Like, you don't think any of these other owners might have a few skeletons in their closet somewhere, right? And then you set that precedent. You think nobody else is incentivizing tanking? I mean, the Haslam family in Cleveland has also been accused of this, right? Some of these owners oversaw a team that stole plays and signals, deflated footballs, got a few special massages over the years. Many of these owners have also received criticism on how they handle racial issues and racial inequality. So do you really think that these owners want to set a precedent that they allow one of them to be forced to sell unless it gets really bad? I'm not saying it's not impossible, Hussam. Like, if this got to the point where you've got smoking guns and like indisputable evidence, then maybe they'll just decide Stephen Ross will be the blood sacrifice. That right. to take the heat off of all of us, we need to throw him into the volcano, right? But I think it would have to be really bad to get to that point. And Hussam, it may get to a point where I don't know what's going to come out of these investigations into the Flores claims. I don't know what's going to come out of it, but supposedly they have witnesses, one of them being a former Dolphins assistant coach who can corroborate.
Assistant to the head coach.
Assistant to, yeah, that's like Dwight Schrute in The Office. Is he
assistant to the regional, assistant to the manager?
Is he the assistant manager?
He's the numero 2 without the number.
So, like, they may be able to get some verbal corroboration, which might force the NFL to do something like fine the Dolphins, take some draft picks away. I hope that doesn't happen, but I could see that happening. But, like, to actually force the owner to sell the team, I don't think it's going to get that bad. What do you think about all this?
Well, if he's going to sell the team, he's going to sell it to his buddy, Bruce Beal Jr., who's the next owner in line anyway. So, I don't know. Like, I honestly, like, don't have any information based on this, which I can say, yeah, the NFL owners, while it is a brotherhood, it is a fraternity, they'll take all of this very seriously as they do take a lot of the integrity issues very seriously as well. And I'm putting this into fake quotation marks about integrity because we know what other owners have done, and you spoke about it, the racial inequity, the cheating scandals as well, and you know about the Broncos and Giants as well, how that situation was handled with Flores. I just don't think. I think it'll be the very, very last resort, or he may be forced to sell the team, but he'll probably face fines.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, or probably be like maybe $100K fine for every game they win this season. I don't know, but I do think there'll be fines, maybe a lost draft pick, like a second or third rounder. I honestly don't know because, well, I'm not in the NFL league office and can say what could actually happen. What are the consequences?
Yeah, and Jets gang points out that the NBA did it with Donald Sterling. Well, first of all, I don't remember. I remember that incident, of course. I remember it very well when that audio tape dropped. You know, it was huge news, huge scandal.
Damning. It was damning.
It was absolutely damning. Because in the NBA, first of all, the NBA and these situations are not the same. That's one thing. Because even though like there's a lot of racial stuff in the Flores lawsuit, the $100 alleged bribes in itself are not directly a racial issue. So the way that they're handled from a PR standpoint is different. The NBA is also different. Like the NBA is a much more quote unquote woke league than the NFL. And the commissioner of it has different powers than the commissioner of the NFL has. So I don't remember one thing, and I'm not sure, Hussam, if you remember or if anybody in the chat remembers this. Maybe I can ask Ethan about this when he joins later because he covers the NBA more closely than we do. If, like, did it actually come to a vote to vote Donald Sterling out, or was it Adam Silver who just said, bro, you're done? Like, so did he, like, even circumvent the pack? Because it doesn't sound to me like Roger Goodell would do that Roger Goodell would say, I'm just telling you, you got to sell. You don't have to go home. You just can't stay here. Or if Roger Goodell would say, I'm going to leave this in the hands of the other 31 owners and let them decide, let them vote on it. Whereas from what I remember, I think Adam Silver just said, done. We can't have this in our league. It's absolutely over. So I don't really, but certainly it's fair to say these situations are, for a number of reasons, they're not exactly the same.
So what happened was that Commissioner Adam Silver, he announced that Sterling had been banned from the league for life and was fined $2.5 million. And basically, Silver stripped Sterling virtually of all of his authority over the Clippers and banned him from entering any Clippers facilities, banned from attending any games. And he stated that he would move to force Sterling to sell the team based on the violation of rules he did. And it required a consent of 3/4, so about 22 of the 29 other NBA team owners. So his wife basically co-owned the team with him, and she served as one of the team's 2 alternate governors. So she didn't necessarily say or include the NBA's ban on Sterling, like comment anything on that, but she basically negotiated the sale of her team anyway, and Ballmer basically bought the team for $2 billion.
Yeah, which it's funny because like at the time,
I was reading all this through Google.
No, it's fantastic.
Google is your best friend, man.
No, it is, and I can remember like when Ballmer bought the Clippers, like $2 billion was like unprecedented at that point to pay for a sports team. And it's like, and now it's like that. And this was like what 10 years ago or so, 10 years ago. Now, like $2 billion for a professional sports franchise, especially in a market like LA, that would actually seem like a discount now. It seemed crazy back then. Seems like a discount now. But let's get off the NBA and move back into the NFL. I'm excited, obviously, to talk to Hussam because you're one of the people who's really educated me on Mike McDaniel the last few weeks through our conversations and the stories you've written. So, like, I know a lot more about this guy, in part thanks to all the work that you've done. So, first and foremost, what did you think about his news conference today? And did any of the things he said? Some of it is the typical stuff you expect to hear. But I thought he did go above and beyond that with some of his answers. What are some of the things that stood out to you today?
It's almost like Donno that I knew the hire was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was some general consensus, coaching stuff that every coach states that, they ultimate end goal is to win playoff games and win a Super Bowl. But his personality really stood out, and it's nothing we've ever seen. Well, nothing I have ever seen in a Miami Dolphins head coach. And mind you, the coaches I remember included the late great Tony Sperano, then Joe Philbin, Adam Gase, and now former head coach Brian Flores. Those dudes didn't really let their personality show to the media, and didn't really it didn't really ooze that same type of personality to the players as well. Um, and he said it too. He wants this style of Miami Dolphins football to be passionate and energetic. And he said, he saw it on tape on the defense, that they all love football. They played with the passion. They played with energy. Last season, the offense was just dismal. Like, there was no energy, no.
I don't know what they loved, but it wasn't football.
and guess what? Mike McDaniel. I mean, he looks like Mike McLovin on the Hawaii ID.
He does.
Right? He's gonna bring passion. He's gonna bring that energy, and I could sense from this press conference that he was being real. Like, his authenticity shined. Like, he looked very emotional. He looked a little bit nervous because now it's setting in for him that, hey, my dream is now a reality. They're calling me the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Like, I am a head coach. And, he stated it, when he was a kid, when he was playing Little League, he wrote onto a sticker, "I will be in the NFL one day," and he manifested it. So I do think it's setting it for him. It was a really, really good press conference, a really real press conference, seeing what type of person and Coach McDaniel will be, rather than him just talking about schemes all day.
And that was a great answer. And I had to mute myself while you were talking, because the homeowners association, they got the lawn guy out there right now. It's like, globalists, they don't want these words being spoken here about Mike McDaniel and Miami Dolphins. The elites. They're trying to silence me.
One thing, and I felt like it was a subtle dig, was the ego thing. We heard a lot of ego issues with the previous head coach. Oh, I hear the lawnmower go again.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, he's got the leaf blower out now. I mean, I don't know. There was one time when I was doing and he's very meticulous, the lawn guy, because he'll be out there sometimes for like a half hour, just like outside the same window. A couple of years ago, I was doing a longer terrestrial radio show, and like during a commercial break, I had to go outside and be like, bro, like, don't worry. Like, I need quiet out there. Just go to somebody else's house. Don't even worry about it. If it gets really bad, I will go out there and I will tell him to refrain. But I think he might almost be done.
And he said it too in Manny. I put it into the chat for you guys to show. But he said the focus should be the lack of a person's ego and being able to work collectively as a team, as an organization. And I know Flores echoed it. He said he wanted the offensive and defensive side of the ball, wanted to be collaborative. But what McDaniel was talking about, the offense, defense, and special teams, he's saying you're going to see a unique design of everything tailored to the personnel, to his players. I just think that, he said it's his job to make sure he has the best chance to showcase his talent, especially Tua's talent, everybody's talent on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. He wants to constantly evolve this offense and tailor it to personnel. And you said it too. I believe Joe Shad might have asked him that how if he was feeling fortunate to inherit a winning team, since the Dolphins have had basically back-to-back winning seasons.
Yeah.
500, he saw what I saw as a defense I didn't want to go against. From the tape, I understand that they love football, and he's passionate about football. He's passionate about coaching, and he wants to be a teacher to everybody involved.
And I liked, he was asked about Tua, and I like the way he handled it. Instead of like making it a Tua love fest, he made it about the entire team. He said, quote, I'm not sitting here concerned with how good Tua can be. I'm concerned with, as a collective unit, what we can grow together, because that's what wins football games. So obviously he's a Tua skeptic. I was happy to hear him, talk about everything. And it's true. Listen, I mean, not only does
It's because he doesn't like to talk in absolutes, Alex. And if you heard his podcast with Wingfield, he doesn't like to talk in absolutes. He's more so of a linear guy. And it was simple and straight to the point. Look, all players, and this goes for Tua, this goes for, if you like him or not, Jesse Davis. It goes for Jalen Waddle. All players want is for coaches to put them in a position to succeed. Yep. And that's how you get the buy-in from your players, not being a guy who can command a locker room, inspire, motivate, but maximizing the talent of your players, getting the best out of them, and, making them understand what their job is. Like, you get the buy-in just through that, they'll have your backs in whatever happens.
Amen to that. Well, let people know where they can find your work, and I'm sure you've been doing a lot with everything that was said today. Mike McDaniel was introduced to the media this morning. Where can people find everything you do, Hussam, on like the 9 different platforms your work is featured on?
Cool. Follow my Twitter at Hussam Patel. Yeah, there you go. I always have to make sure, is it this finger or this finger?
I struggle with that every day.
It's this finger. At Hussam Patel. You can find me on, here at the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You can find me on Dolphins ATB and FinManiacs.com. You can also, I guess, find me on Twitter if you want to as well. I have all my links up there. And you can also DM Donno and be like, Donno, I like your show, but I like Hussam much better than you.
People like the lawn guy better than me. That's how highly they think of me. I appreciate your time as always, Hussam. Great insight, man. Enjoy the rest of your week and the weekend coming up.
All right. Thanks, Donno.
Awesome. I love it. So we're expecting Ethan Skolnick here any second. I think I'll give Ethan a moment though, because and I think Manny might be leaving. So I think I got to make sure. Oh, you're not? Okay, my bad. I thought you were giving me a signal. I think that Ethan was there. I thought you were giving me a signal that you were leaving, and Hussam is back. Manny. Manny, I want to talk about hold on. Before we get into our conversation with Ethan Skolnick, I want to remind people about the great sponsors of this show, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Bros, if you're looking for a place to watch that big game on Sunday, you may not feel like throwing together your own appetizers and shopping for everybody. Now that I'm married, I know the importance of your house being clean before people coming over. If you don't want to worry about any of that stuff, just head on out to the Quarterdeck. Make the Quarterdeck your home this weekend. That's the best place, not only to watch that big game in Los Angeles on Sunday. Guys, Saturday night, UFC 271 on pay-per-view. That's going to be a big one. Adesanya against Whitaker, the rematch for the middleweight title. They've got it for no cover charge. You pay nothing at the door at the Quarterdeck to watch a UFC fight or any sporting event. You're going to enjoy that delicious food, the fresh seafood. The chicken wings are awesome. The sandwiches, the burgers, the meat falls off the bone, baby back ribs. Oh, I love to build my own poke bowl. The sushi at the Quarterdeck is so good. There's something for everybody there, guys. Usually before I go out there, I'll check the menu online because sometimes the menu changes. They update it. They add new items. Like the jerk chicken sandwich is one of the newer items. It's fantastic. So I like to pick out what I'm going to get before I go out there. Or you may just want to find the location nearest to you. They have locations all over Broward County. Check out their website, quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. Oh my God, he's got the weed eater out now. It's crazy. Like the lawn guy is going ham. Guys, you have opportunities this weekend to make some cash and have a lot of fun. Yeah, let's start with betus.com. I've already been notified by a couple of folks today that they are signing up today because they want to make sure they're in for this weekend. You want to bet on all those props that you get in the big game, from the coin toss, the national anthem, player props, who's going to score the first touchdown, over-unders on interceptions, touchdown sacks, straight up winners and losers, money line spreads. Yeah, you have all of that on America's favorite sports book, betus.com. And just so you know, People ask me this sometimes, or you're confused about it because the law can be very confusing. Yeah, BetUS.com is available in Florida. You can access the full site and play in Florida. Sign up at BetUS.com. Full service sportsbook. They also have a full casino, slot games, table games. I play blackjack on there for real money. BetUS.com. And guys, sign up with our code. We get you 125% sign up bonus. Our code is 5RSN125. Write it down. 5RSN125. If you deposit, for example, $100, they're going to give you $125 in free play money on top of your deposit. How good is that? You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. And Prize Picks. Oh, Duncan, you know what? I've actually made a lot of money with Duncan Robinson unders on Prize Picks throughout this season. Yeah. If you take Robinson overs, you're in big trouble. PrizePicks.com, PrizePicks mobile app. Guys, this is the official fantasy partner of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and it's going to be on. It's going to be lit this weekend. UFC over-unders, Rams versus Bengals over-unders. Guys, Prize Picks, it's you versus the numbers. You simply lock in 2, 3, or 4 players. You can even go cross-sport with these. You can get a UFC fighter on Saturday, NFL player on Sunday. You just predict if they're going to go over or under their fantasy projection, and you win real cash. You can get 10 times your deposit for getting 4 predictions correct. Prize Picks combines my love for parlays and daily fantasy. It is so much fun. Yeah, the lawn guy mushed my segment. So sign up either the Prize Picks mobile app, which is very easy to use, or the Prize Picks website, which is equally easy to use, and use our code 5. Yeah, type that in. Type in the whole word. We can all spell it, right? FIVE. Use our code 5 to get a 100% match on your deposit up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. Yeah, we're going to talk about him. Ethan Skolnick is with us from the network. Trade deadline day, Ethan, and we had a really, well, I don't know if this guy is going to be going anywhere, but we had a really big one today involving the Nets and the 76ers. More complicated than this, but you have James Harden going to Philly, Ben Simmons coming to Brooklyn. Was this on your radar, first of all? And second of all, who do you think won this deal?
Well, I think we all knew James Harden was going to be a Sixer. It was just a question of when. He's never happy, as we know. And Dwayne Wade was never traded 3 times in his prime. So I hope that we've ended that conversation. He wasn't traded. He wasn't traded until he was in Cleveland, and anybody would want to be traded from Cleveland. And he was not. He was not in his prime at that point. But no, we knew this was going to happen eventually. There was a chance it was going to happen now. I mean, Daryl Morey and Harden have had that relationship. It feels like it's been setting up for this forever. If you look at the Nets situation, it was clear that Harden wasn't happy. I said a while ago, way back when, that I thought a Simmons for Irving move made sense at one point between these teams. I've always kind of seen Ben Simmons as a natural fit for what the Nets are trying to do. They do need another defender. I think the single biggest thing for the Nets is what happens with the New York laws, because it seems like they're starting to loosen things up a little bit. And if that's the case, that clears the path for Kyrie to play during the playoffs. Now, does this make them contenders in the East? Look, here's the thing about it. We don't know what kind of shape Ben Simmons is in. We don't know how this thing is going to fit. He's not the best teammate, at least not as an offensive teammate. But it's what a Heat executive said to me about 3-4 weeks ago. The Nets are a disaster, but Kevin Durant can go on a 6-week binge that could cure that disaster, essentially. Similar to how the Heat were kind of a disaster in 2006, and they ended up in a situation where Dwayne Wade just carried them all the way to the NBA Finals and to win a title. Durant is capable of doing that. So are they a threat? They're always a threat because they have Kevin Durant. Are they the best team in the East? No. I still think the 2 best teams in the East are Milwaukee and Miami. Yep. And when I look at what Philly did, okay, look, you're getting something for essentially nothing. I like Seth Curry a lot, by the way, and I do think they're going to miss him. He's more efficient than James Harden, but obviously he's not as dynamic and overall offensive player, particularly, as long as Harden isn't showing up straight from the strip club. But I will say, maybe even if he is, but I will say that when you look at what that mix is going to be, I am dubious about it. We know that Harden doesn't defend on the perimeter. They were able to keep Matisse Thybulle, which I thought was important because they do need a defender out there. But I don't know that taking the ball out of Tyrese Maxey's hands is a great idea right now. He has been a revelation in his second season. He has really good upside. I thought if they played him more instead of Simmons in the playoffs last year, if Doc had played him more, that they may have ultimately advanced. And look, I don't trust Doc, top 15 coach of all time or not. I don't trust Doc Rivers in the playoffs in meaningful games. So I'm not going to put them ahead of Miami either. To me, it's Milwaukee and it's Miami. Boston, made moves to get under the tax. So they gave up Schroeder. I don't think that they've upgraded significantly. Chicago has a lot of injuries. I think there's a little bit of flukishness to them. I think they're a year away probably from where they need to get to. So it's about Milwaukee potentially getting Brook Lopez back, in which case you've added Ibaka to the mix with Portis up front with Giannis. That gives you enough big bodies. They are really, really good when their top 3 guys play. Miami will be really, really good when their top 3 guys play. That's what this comes down to. It's about health. And then there's the other X factor. Victor Oladipo is close. And I know he's close because I've talked to people inside the organization, and there is real optimism. They have tried all year to kind of, there is real optimism about how he looks. Okay. I've talked to people on the roster about this. They think he's going to be a difference maker. Now, will the quad hold up? Will his conditioning hold up? We don't know yet. But he will give them some of what they're missing, which is rim pressure, which I think will help them late in games. And the other thing is this. If Tyler Hero is going through a night where he doesn't have it going and he's being hunted defensively, you have a guy you can put out there instead of Tyler, who is a better player at this stage, if he's healthy, than Gabe Vincent is, as much as I like Gabe. So I don't feel like they had to make a move right now. I think, and I think, Donno, the one thing they probably have to do is look at the buyout market to get themselves a little bit of protection in case something happens to PJ Tucker. I don't know that flipping Duncan Robinson or the first round pick now is the way to do it. I still think they had a good deadline simply by unlocking that pick, which gives them a lot of flexibility going into the summer.
Ethan J. Skolnick is with us. Ethan, everybody watching this probably already knows 5 Reasons Sports. It's such a great stop to get NBA news, whether it's Miami Heat specific or league-wide. Today is obviously a big day for both, especially league-wide with the trade deadline. I know you have a lot planned for later today. Let people know what else they can find on the YouTube channel and the podcast channels on the NBA today.
Well, I was at the Mike McDaniel press conference today, although
we'll get to that. I'm not going to let you go before we get to that. But
so you can catch. I did a video from there. Unlike with the Heat, where we tend to get the first question, a lot of the times I couldn't get a question in. The Dolphins treat us a little bit differently than the Heat do, which is unfortunate. But I was out there and I did a video, a stand up from there. You can check that out. Of course, we're going to have 5 on the floor later tonight. I'm actually going to be hosting a stream as soon as I get off with you, starting at about 4:05 with some of the guys from 5 on the floor and Bahama Rican Boys. So we're gonna do kind of a mixed stream there, which we'll probably put on the podcast feed later. And of course, we got Before Floor an hour before the game tonight, because the Heat actually do play tonight with everything else that's going on. So there's a lot of content here on the channel. We had a Spaces with over 1,000 people today, right before the deadline. So you can kind of see how things are picking up. And we appreciate all of our sponsors for jumping on with us as well.
No, that's fantastic. And yeah, I saw you're at the McDaniel presser today. So you're all over the place today. We talked a lot about it. I was watching it live this morning. We talked about it in the afternoon. But what were your big takeaways getting to see Coach in person and hear him speak?
He's a regular guy. I think the thing that's going to serve him well in this job is that he can make fun of himself. I just think that is such an underrated quality for people, but particularly for leaders and especially for football coaches. I think, joking about Yale has some sick athletes, or, playing around with the media about welcome to Miami. By the way, you're not in Miami. You're in Miami Gardens. Okay. Let's just be clear. It's not South Beach. You're in Miami Gardens, a little bit different. He says he's having trouble finding a house. I mean, welcome to the freaking club.
I saw Billy Corbin was all over that.
I wish I'd held on to mine in West Miramar. It looks like I sold at the wrong time, selling in July. But yeah, I mean, there's a quality to him that you can tell why he connects. And I think that's why I'm not concerned about him being the next Adam Gase, because I don't think Adam Gase had that quality. I think there is a certain narcissistic personality that exists in coaching, particularly in the NFL. One of Eric Spoelstra's great qualities and what allows him to connect is that he can make fun of himself. He does know it's not all about him. He was genuinely humbled. I had a short conversation with him by text after he got the top 15 award, which he did not know was coming. And really, he was completely overwhelmed by it. That's the type of person he is. I think that's why people relate to him. And I think they're getting a similar type personality in Mike McDaniel. I think that's a real plus. So I'm optimistic. Thank you, Shake. We appreciate that. I'm just an old goat at this point. I'm 49 on Sunday, so my birthday present was to be running around South Florida. But I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about the Dolphins. But again, I was optimistic about Brian Flores too. So it's still Ross. It's still Greer. We have to see how it works, and it's a turbulent situation to be coming into. But I was, as I typically am at press conferences, but more so today, I was impressed by him. I feel like he's someone we'll like, and
I agree.
And it will be nice to really feel that way about a head coach.
Has Kai Chen Chisholm been involved in any of the coverage yet today? Because he may just want to take today off just to enjoy.
No, I have to mention it. Kai is actually hosting a stream tonight. He's hosting an Extra Yard stream. So we've got Post Up, we've got Extra Yard, we've got all of that. It's a lot. It's a lot. And look, like I said, when McDaniel was hired on Sunday, you're not getting it live on the local radio stations. You see, local TV's not breaking in. We're it. Okay.
Yep.
Learn to love us. Okay. The newspapers don't have YouTube channels. So hit like, hit subscribe. We're not going anywhere. We're just growing. So we appreciate what you do, Donno. And I'm going to be, as soon as you get off, I'm hopping on to host a stream with Alex and
Beautiful.
Greg and Timmy and some of the others on the network.
Beautiful. I won't keep you waiting too long because I've got and Ethan, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the stream in about 5 minutes.
All right. And use the code 5 FIVE at betus.com.
Use both, man. There he is. Ethan Skolnick, our fearless leader. I love that dude. And I could see Shake Money does as well. Thank you so much for the super chat. So I'm going to be, by the way, I'm signing off here in a few minutes. I'm going to be back in 2 hours and 4 minutes. Frank Zaffrey and I, James Walker's traveling today, so he's not going to be part of it. Frank Zaffrey and I and Jonathan Ramlakan is going to join us for about 30 minutes before he jumps onto Heat pregame. We're going to be talking UFC 271. We do have combat sports coverage here on the channel. Jonathan does some pre and post fights. Frankie Z, James Walker, and I, we do a weekly on Thursday evenings talking UFC and boxing. It's going to be very UFC heavy this week heading into UFC 271. So if you are interested in Adesanya versus Whitaker on Saturday night, you can watch us cut up about it and talk about it for about an hour tonight at 6 p.m. So make sure you tune in to that. Chris C says, Donno, how could we donate to you? Well, I would encourage you to donate to the channel on the super chat. I think that I've actually never personally used a super chat. Like I've never done, like the only times I've donated to channels is through Patreon. We don't use that on this channel, but if you're watching on YouTube, there should be like a button. In fact, somebody in the chat may be able to explain it better than I can, but there should be like a button that says super chat, or it's like a $sign where you could, I think you probably have to have like a Cash App or a Venmo or something linked to it. But yeah, donate to the channel. Like, I don't really feel the need to give out like my maybe if I had it, I'd give it out, but I don't remember what it is, like my Cash App or whatever. But now I'd encourage you donate to the 5 Reasons channel, and they divvy that up. I usually, for the super chat money that comes in, meaning you yourself, not Manny. I was about to say I usually funnel the donation money to Manny, but I got to tell you, we've been getting a lot of super chats the last couple of weeks. I may have to take a cut now. Like usually, I've been letting Manny take the money, all of it that we get for this show, like our share of it. But I may have to kind of dip my hand into the cookie jar because we've been getting a lot of super chats the last couple of weeks. So I might, yeah, okay, there you go. Ray says $sign to the right and donate. That's how you do it. And don't worry, I'm not going to take all of it, but I will take a cut of that this month because we've been getting a lot. If I let Manny take the money, Manny he's going to be running the show from his yacht if I let him take all of it. So we're going to divvy it up. Let me throw out a few shout outs here. Our guy Ray, again, thank you so much. Chris C, thank you. And thank you for asking how to donate to the channel. We appreciate that. My guy Chris, and I'm going to be doing a spot on his show. We're going to be recording that on Saturday. So, and I think it's going to be live. So stay tuned for that. We're going to do that around noon on Saturday. So we'll talk a lot of Dolphins. We'll talk Super Bowl, not together, unfortunately, because the Dolphins are not playing in the Super Bowl, but it should be fun. So make sure you check out his channel, The Fins Tailgate. Check out Chris because he does an awesome job. Indade, thank you so much. Shake Money, we appreciate you. Paul, thank you. Nicole, I'm going to miss a few people on this one because I got limited time to throw shout outs. I apologize. I've been getting worse and worse at the shout outs. I'm too Hollywood now. I've been skipping over people left and right. I try to get everybody in. Let's see who else. What a name! This is this person's YouTube name. Wow. Tua is GOAT and Flores is trash. McD is God and Tua is Jesus with it. I missed that when it came in. I see it now. That is unbelievable. David, thank you so much for tuning in. Vaughn954, yo, right back to you. Mike, thank you so much for tuning in. Dolphin Don, thank you, Don. We always love seeing you in the chat. Jets gang, even Jets fans we will accept. I don't even care. If you're a Jet fan, Patriot fan, Bills fan, I don't love you as much as I love the Dolphins fans, but I have unconditional love for anybody who watches the show. Brooklyn Rob, thank you so much. One of my guys. Yeah, I always want some. The landscaper's finally done out there. There's no more mowing or leaf blowing happening finally. Paul, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see. Let me throw out a few. Sean, and I love the fact Sean always reminds me when I see him, he's watching on Facebook. We do stream on Facebook as well. So for whatever reason, if it's easier for you to pull up our stream on Facebook, on the 5 Reasons Facebook page than it is to pull it up on YouTube, you have that option. There are multiple different ways you can watch the show live. Let me throw out a couple more. And again, I don't skip anybody on purpose. Benton says, Big O says that report is fake. I don't know. I think that came in when we were talking about the Flores lawsuit. Like, does he think the whole thing is fake? I don't know. I don't know what he knows that I don't know about that. I hope none of it's true because it would look really bad for the Dolphins. Like if the thing about the 100K, and I don't really care so much about the tampering thing with Brady. Like, I don't know. I'd actually like to believe that really happened. But the whole 100K thing, I'd much prefer if that isn't true. I don't know if it is or it isn't, man. I don't know if anybody really knows about that. Shake Money, thank you so much for the donation. Cap for Life, who's always in here. Cap, I appreciate how enthusiastic you are. He never misses a show. Devin Jordan, who I think also left us a super chat on this episode. Indeed, he did. Thank you so much. Color Commentary. Martina, we always love seeing you in here. Here's Devin's super chat. Hussam, who also joined the show. My guy Jason, who is he was live commenting for the first time, so welcome in. And I've known Jason for years. He's an awesome dude. I'm glad you found the show. And that'll do it. If I skipped any shout outs, I apologize. Wait, Big Dan 305, did I get you in there? All right, we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to go live early, just so you know, noon tomorrow. I'm planning on going live because I'm going to be filling in. You could also listen to me there if you want to, but I'm going to be filling in on the Hockman and Crowder show, which starts at 2 on 790 and 560. So you can listen to that tomorrow at 2. You can watch this show. I'm going to go live at 3 o'clock. We'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. See ya.